Turner Stephen Bruton built a high-end reputation as a writer and performing artist. He was a virtuoso guitar player, singer, songwriter, actor, record producer, storyteller, and a good friend to many. Stephen grew up immersed in music. His jazz drummer father ran a record store where Stephen and his brother Sumter would be treated to only the very best that music had to offer. A native of Fort Worth, Stephen was uniquely positioned from the very beginning to enjoy his musical destiny.
Waiting for a long time.
My dad was a really good jazz drummer. He was a good drummer, period, but his forte was bebop and also big band. Sumter and I grew up listening to everything that he brought home to play. And that makes an imprint on you when you're a kid. And then about the time that started this record store, he started selling records and you were listening to everything all the time. I remember going to a concert over here at TCU and my dad was playing and my mother and I were sitting there and she asked me if there was something up there that I liked. And I remember looking at Charlie Pearson playing guitar and said, I like that. That sound just went through me. I mean, I remember very vividly because I walked in the back, I almost felt sick to my stomach. I was just like, I couldn't get over how cool that instrument was. I had a little bluegrass band, Jenkins Garrett and Cinco Phillips and David Ferguson. There wasn't really a scene, and there was just a bunch of kids that were kind of like-minded, and this wasn't unique. That was before there was a scene anywhere. You weren't trying to be in a scene. You were really playing because you wanted to play music.
Scene or no scene, Fort Worth had a tradition of musical exchange between black musical giants like T-Bone Walker and Ornette Coleman, and white kids who would follow them. During his teens, Stephen and his buddy T-Bone Burnett recorded tracks in Burnett's studio, in between performing with the likes of Delbert McClinton. For Stephen, it was bluegrass by day and blues at night.
Well, T-Bone Burnett and I produced the first Robert E. Lee and the Five Careless Lovers live at the new Bluebird Lounge. Sumter was playing on that, and basically we put a console on the pool table and the band played and everybody drank, and it was a wild night. It was great.
Walk by faith, not by sight.
I said, all right, we'll do it this way. You be the engineer, T-Bone, and I'll throw the party. That's basically what happened.
But by 1970, change was in the air.
I had gone to L.A. with T-Bone Burnett and John Fleming, and that was pretty cool. I really liked it, but it was a bit much. And my friend Lindsay Holland, my oldest friend in the world, had wound up in Woodstock, New York. That's when Van Morrison was up there, and I think Dylan was up there, and the band was up there. That band called the Great Speckled Bird that was playing with Jim Colgrove and Amos Garrett. So I thought that was much more my liking. And it was a good thing I went to Woodstock, actually, because I was able to woodshed on guitar nonstop. I heard from a guy that Van Morrison was looking for a guitar player, that I would be perfect for it. I had like $100 I was going to start a checking account. So I went in there and I was in line to put my $50 or whatever it was by that time in the bank. And Van Morrison was at the head of the line because he was leaving town that day to move to San Francisco. I met Kris here in Fort Worth, and he was friends with Jim Meeker, who called me and said, look, there's a friend of mine coming to town. He's a songwriter. I know that you're a musician. Would you be interested in meeting this guy? And then the next time I saw him, I saw that he was coming to New York. And so I think I had $3, and I'd gotten my girlfriend's sister's car and drove from Woodstock to New York. It was freezing cold, and I got there. He and Carly Simon were walking out. He said, what are you doing here? And I said, I came to see you. And he goes, I just finished. I had no idea that they played so early, you know.
Stephen would indeed go on the road with Kris Kristofferson in 1971, and over the next 2 decades with Delbert McClinton, Bonnie Raitt, Christine McVie, and others.
I don't want you, baby. I just want someone to hold me. I got too much rock and roll to be a wife. I can't live without a nightmare in my skin.
would also do session work with everyone from Bob Dylan, Johnny Cash, Carly Simon, Elvis Costello, Willie Nelson, Jimmy Buffett, and a host of others.
Thank you.
But it was Kristofferson who had launched Stephen's acting career.
Nice attitude. In 1976, Kris called me and asked me if I would come out and work on A Star Is Born. And we were having fun and talking back to each other, but we were getting a lot done. And I look over and Streisand had walked in the door, and she turned to Kris at one point privately and said, "I've never heard a sideman talk back to the artist." And he goes, "They're not sidemen. These are my best friends. They got to turn this stuff into rock and roll. They are rock and roll." The next night, we were to be rehearsing her stuff. And she said, "I can't believe how good you guys played my stuff." I just think she thought of us as just being these kind of, well, we were pretty wild.
Stephen successfully expanded from being a musical sideman into acting, appearing both in movies and on television.
Put that right on top of your head.
I'm afraid you stepped in it this time, boy.
Doc, can you talk to him, the crazy son of a bitch?
I expect this will be a good lesson for you.
Hey, Mike, give me a pint.
Rough day, huh?
The worst.
Sure you want a whole one?
Oh, yeah, hit me big time, baby.
Jimmy, you mind? Let me tell you a secret. We got it organized. And where you're sitting, that's the epicenter of the next American Revolution. And if you don't believe me, just hide and watch.
Captain Dickinson, I'm reassigning you and Private Esparza to the battery at the rear of the church, so you can be near your families. And I've arranged for a replacement for your midnight watch.
Thank you, sir.
Meanwhile, Stephen developed still another career as a Grammy-nominated record producer. He also produced music for movie soundtracks for independent feature films like World Without Waves and studio pictures such as the 20th Century Fox release, Crazy Heart, co-produced by his old friend and longtime collaborator, T-Bone Burnett. At the same time, Stephen became a songwriter and solo artist, began making his own albums beginning in the early 1990s. This work would take him on the road with a central core of all-star players with whom he would collaborate for the rest of his life.
Not as though my life ain't hard enough to do. Try getting over you.
I grew up in a record store. And so that's kind of like growing up in the library for musicians. Then I was a musician on top of it. Then I was afforded the opportunities to make a bunch of records and play on a bunch of records. It's funny, the last album I produced was nominated for a Grammy, and my phone hasn't rung since then. So, you never know.
Stephen was a good friend to many people far and wide, but the relationship that would define him would be with Kris Kristofferson.
With Kris, it was about everybody in the band and Kris. It was a religious experience. It was like a family.
This guy walks through the door with a massive head wound and a midget. And Stephen, Bruton, my guitar player, says, "Hey, Kris, your fans are here."
He comes walking right over to us. His face is all beat up and bloody. He real sheepishly walks up and just says, "Hey, y'all, you mind if I play y'all a song?"
He borrowed my guitar and played us a song he wrote. And it was...
Hands down, one of the prettiest things I ever heard in my life.
It was mind-blowing in its honesty.
Truly beautiful. Heartbreaking.
I saw a tear in Stephen's eye.
Kris Kristofferson said that you were moved to tears.
That lying son of a... We all watched each other grow up and grow old and go through triumphs and tragedies, and there's nothing I wouldn't do for that guy. Nothing.
Heading for the highway, rolling like a river, soaring like an eagle, skipping like a stone, coming from the heartbeat, nothing but the truth now. Everything is sweeter, closer to the bone. In the spirit, living in the spirit world. In the spirit world, living in the spirit world. Living in the spirit